You can start, sir.
All right. So I think we have a few more seconds to go, which will give us an opportunity to welcome some more friends who are still joining in. I'm reading messages on the various Gesu groups that there are more people joining. But it is time. So friends, welcome to another wonderful edition of Samvad. First of all, happy Dashera to everyone. And before I actually start the session today, I once again wanted to congratulate and thank the whole Samvad team for bringing together this platform, for creating this wonderful opportunity for where we can get to interact with, learn more about, and get inspired by talking to our own Gesuite talents. And special thanks to Puneet sir, my dear friend Sanjay Khemesra, but a very, very wonderful team, very, very committed team of Samvad Evangelist who is behind this initiative. So, and today we are lucky to have another such wonderful personality with us, Vinu Varghese. Vinu, welcome.
Thank you very much, English sir.
तो कई बार क्या होता है कि there are some people who have this unique ability and talent कि आप उनसे कुछ बार मिलें, बात करें और आपको लगता है कि आप एक अरसे से उनको जानते हैं, एक बहुत अच्छे से उनको जानते हैं, बहुत करीब से उनको जानते हैं. So Vinu is one of those personalities, and if you have had a chance to look at some of the teasers which we got when we started this conversation, everyone had exactly the same thing to say about you, Vinu. कि विनु की सबसे बड़ी क्वालिटी यही है कि he we're all hoping that we all get to know more about you today and get inspired by your journey.
No, thank you very much. I mean, first of all, very happy Dashera to everybody. It's an honor to be speaking to everyone today on this auspicious day. I think it takes me back to my Ujjain days when, Freeganj especially, it used to be totally decked up, all decorated, right from Dashera, Diwali, the number of festivals, and the amazing food that we had. Such a great time we had. So, it's a real honor. I think I must also congratulate the entire team of Samvad who have actually created this platform, and it's really grown. It's a fantastic platform. I've gone to an MBA institute as well, but I don't see a platform like this. I know a lot of other friends from many different universities and even very prestigious ones who don't have such an interesting platform. So, congratulations to Puneet sir, Sanjay sir, and obviously Patik sir, Loku, Harjeet, my dear friend Harjeet from my batch. All of them have done a great job over the last few years to build up this platform and the entire alumni touch that we have. Secondly, English sir, I would like to request you that compared to other such sessions in the past, for example, we had Rajesh Ahuja, we had Rachna Chopra and Neeraj, we had that young IAS officer. I don't have that kind of glamour, but I know that English sir, you are there to cover up for that glamour. So I think we'll have a good day today. And I think I also noticed that each one of these sessions have been very different from one another, quite unique. For example, Rachna, although an engineer, made a career in procurement, right, indirect procurement and so on. There was Rajesh Ahuja, who made a career in HR, and he had talent acquisition for Infosys. We had an IAS officer who's working with rural development in India. We had a young IPS officer recently. So, and Puneet sir, who gave this country Desh Ka Namak, Tata Namak, right, in advertisement star. Yourself, English sir, you have you had a big business in the entire APAC region for one of the largest and most successful consumer goods companies in the world. So everybody is quite unique, and I think this platform really helps the students of Gesu as well as young graduates. One last thing I would say is I would like to apologize in advance for any shararat that we might do, because while we might have a lot of content, it's also important to have some fun, I believe. So in the end, I'm also open to do a third button, after this session if required.
So No, absolutely, Vinu. So, first of all, कोई भी platform जो होता है, any platform is made richer by the people who come on that platform, and I think we have already had some wonderful people. I think you named them all, and I think today will be another great session. और शरारत का अच्छा हुआ तुमने पहले खुद ने ही ये ले लिया, नहीं तो मैं वैसे भी तुम्हारा ही नाम लगाने वाला था बाद में. तो मैंने पुनीत सर को पहले ही बोल दिया था कि जो भी शरारत होगी वो बिनू ही करेगा आज, मैं नहीं करने वाला. So that's really good. But today's session will be especially interesting for everyone, Vinu, because we'll be talking about two things. One, we'll be of course talking about you and your journey. But last time we spoke, you had some wonderful insights on the digital industry itself, because you are there as a part of the industry, one of the leaders of the industry. You already talk about the future trends and how those trends can be leveraged in the industry. But specifically today, we would also like to spend some time, maybe a lot of time, on what opportunities are there for current students as well as for the alumni, both young alumni as well as more people in the late career, just like myself, how we can benefit from digital, what opportunities we see, and how we can grow ourselves. So हम उस पर भी काफी बात करेंगे आज, ठीक है. और एक बड़ी यूनिक चीज विनु जो सबसे बात करने में आई, एंड स्पेशली कि तुम्हारा जो जर्नी रही है, इवन अंटिल गेसु हैज बीन वेरी मेरा भारत महान टाइप की जर्नी. यू आर from Kerala, but then when you came to Gesu, you came from Nagaland, and then you studied in Ujjain before going back to then working in Bangalore and then now in Europe. So yeah, how did that journey start? Tell us more about your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we are from Kerala, and my parents live also in Kerala now. But my father used to work in Nagaland in those days. And in Nagaland and some northeast states, at that time at least, there were no engineering colleges. So the government of India, kept a quota in different engineering colleges, and Ujjain was one of them. And I think I was lucky to get this, come through this, because I don't think I could have cleared an engineering entrance exam. So, having reached here, and we used to speak Nagamis in those days in Nagaland, and at home we used to speak Malayalam. But coming to Ujjain, we obviously spoke a little bit of Hindi, but I took a little bit of advantage also of sort of pretending not to know this language really well, and saved me in some from some interesting, as Krishnendu told, in some holy Milan sessions. I used to escape because of this excuse. But it was fun learning the language, and I met my good friend Harjeet as well as Samit, who I see just now having breakfast on Zoom. He said that when they put some really good words as promotional video before this, Samit बोला हरजीत को कि उसको विनु को कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा, क्योंकि हरजीत का हिंदी is like really special. It's like literally level. And he was right, but it was a good experience learning the language. And as I said, down the songs in English, and that was a great way to learn the vocabulary as well. We don't use much of Hindi these days, but I'm always jealous of people like yourselves, all of you who are extremely good in Hindi. So hopefully one day, I'll be good with my Hindi. I can speak no problem, but we do that all the time. So that way it was very special. And I think the culture in Ujjain was very different, very unlike Kerala, very unlike Nagaland or the Northeast. It was very unique, and such good friends we had, lots of them from Indore and the Ujjain area. We had absolute amazing fun. So it was a bit different from the childhood, but it was still quite interesting, and a lot of learning, a lot of fun. I still cherish them to this day. I think we might have lost English a little bit, so I'll take the liberty of speaking a bit more. So, after that, I spent some time in different parts of India as well. I went to work in Mumbai and in Ahmedabad, and then eventually came to Europe about 18 years back. And even here, I've been in different parts of Europe, starting with Germany, on to UK, and now in Switzerland. But in India, while we were in engineering, we did a number of trips. Again, my batchmate and good friend Abhay Kekre, we made certain trips and just took a bus. Sometimes went to Jaipur with Upendra, or to Jammu and Khajiar, Dalhousie, those kind of places. So we did a lot of journeys, which was really interesting. And while you are joking about Mera Bharat Mahan, I think we have tried to cover the length of breadth of India, and in the process, learn a lot of languages and cultures. It was good fun, learning all that. I think we might have lost English a little. So uh, one thing which I can do is maybe I can preempt his question. Imagine what his next question is, and try and answer that. And hopefully he'll join by that time. I think he would have probably asked that what did I do in engineering, and what did I do after engineering, right? So I'll go to that, and if he comes back, we'll catch up. So the engineering was really mechanical engineering, and I think that was just an amazing batch. We have some of them in the call today. It was less of learning, and I think I wish we had learned a lot more. But still, we compromised. We did not compromise on the fun aspect. We had a really good time, and I think English, are you back? You're probably on mute now. Up mute, pe ho.
Abhi, can you hear me all right?
Abhi, theek hai. So when you were absent, I tried to imagine what your next question is and tried answering that.
Which is wonderful. That's the talent. That's what I did in the exams.
I know. So I was trying to imagine that, how was my engineering days and what did I do after engineering? So I was beginning to say that, we had a lot of fun, less of studies, but we wish we had done a little bit more studies. But it's okay. You can always learn from your past and move on.
Correct. So one question I had as a part of that, Vinu, was why Ujjain? Why did you choose Ujjain, and what was your first impression when you landed in Ujjain and in the college?
Yeah. See, there's a popular Sufi saying which says that freedom is the absence of choice. Okay, so Ujjain was the only choice that I had, and it was just a brilliant choice. I think I loved every minute of it. And my time in Ujjain, I was explaining when you were not not connected. It was really good time, and we traveled around the country a lot. It was every holiday. To go back to Nagaland, it was like a 3-day train journey through Delhi and UP, Bihar, Assam, and finally Nagaland. So sometimes we decided not to go there for short holidays and instead go to Jaipur or Khajiar, Dalhousie, or someplace like that. Obviously, a lot of places around MP itself. So we made full use of that. And many of these trips were impromptu. You were sitting just chatting and said, Chalo, Jaipur chalte. Right? And I just left. So we had a really good time. And yeah, I think it was good fun, which I remember to this day.
Then you mentioned also, and I think it also came out in one of the teasers, your love for singing and singing Hindi songs. That also started in Ujjain. How did that happen?
Yeah, see, I always used to sing Malayalam songs before, and English songs and so on. But Hindi, I used to listen but not sing much. But in Ujjain, I got the chance to do that as well. So I remember it was this hostel day, my first year, and you know what the first year is like. And I used the excuse of not knowing much of Hindi to escape a lot of interesting meetings. But on hostel day, I couldn't control. मैं से रहा नहीं गया. मुझे तो गाना ही था. So I got on stage and sang a Hindi song, and everybody, especially the seniors, were amazed. And I had to give a good explanation for that in the next days, which is understandable. But that was the beginning of my Hindi singing sessions. And
Which song was that? Which song was that? कौन सा गाना था?
That was हमें तुमसे प्यार कितना, right? That was
Wow.
Yes. And then there was the Silver Jubilee function which happened. I think your batch were big organizers of that. And there also I went and sang this song Patthar Ke Sanam. And eventually we used to have a lot of singing sessions, sometimes for hours in the hostel at night. After having a few Coca-Colas and fruit juices and so on. And there we used to sing a lot of ghazals. as it was always very romantic to pretend that we are jilted lovers. And जैसे जो अमेरिका में country songs होते हैं या तो फिर इंडिया में गजल्स होते हैं, you're always very sad songs, and there was some good masochistic fun in singing those kind of sad songs. So a lot of ghazals late in the evening and so on.
I think Patthar Ke Sanam was one of the biggest hits, and I think a lot of people still remember the session. We'll try and get you to even sing a couple of lines there. But let's continue with stay on the college still. So, I mean, I'm sure you had your share of fun, your share of studies. What were the 2-3 big takeaways, Venu, that you got from college that actually you see helping you throughout the career? So, a little bit more serious question, but I think it's important. And I'm sometimes amazed how some of those takeaways were so common. At the same time, there are some very different takeaways. So, what were your takeaways?
I think the thing about Gesu was that it was not easy. It was pretty tough, in terms of the environment and so on, and that really prepares you for life, right? And some of the tough conditions. Now, I think a little bit of jokes here. One of our junior friends, very good friend, I'll not name him. He's one day when we were returning after a movie from the town, he slept on top of the bus. Okay, so we all got down and was walking back through the Babul Kedi to our hostel. But I think he was sleeping in the bus, and those days were a little bit of a tense days because of some incidents that had happened. So clearly, he got into a little bit of a trouble with some people on the bus when he tried to get down at the next stop. And when we were walking, we realized that a good friend is not there. So we went back to get him, and he was obviously in a little bit of a bad shape. But the first thing he told was that was very funny actually. So he said, sir, I must really thank you, all of you. You have made us tough. Now we can withstand any situation, right? So that is the power of Gesu. I mean, it makes you pretty tough and mentally tough as well. And I think Sisodia sir said this in his session. That mental toughness and the ability to even take a few pangas, right? I think that's very important. The other thing I found, which was common across different speakers and is also valid for me, is the tenacity that you don't easily give up, right? And I think that is so crucial, especially like yourself and me. We are all running P&Ls, but a big part of our role is sales or business growth. And in business growth, in sales, you fail, very, very frequently. Right? You fail all the time, and it's very important to pick up yourself and just forget about it and move on. That's so important. I mean, in fact, I can't remember any successful person who would not have done that, in their life, that did not have that quality. I think the third quality is really communication skills. I think everyone, the other day I was listening to a promotional video by my friend Abhay. He just flows like water when he speaks. I mean, it's effortless. And many of these people, Sanjay Sharma and all that, I'm pretty sure they have not even practiced it even once, right? Rehearsed, but they just come and speak. So communication skills is a great quality of people of Gesu. And the other thing is, I think we are usually unassuming and humble. We don't have too much of bhav around us. And that's very crucial as well, because you open up your mind to pick up new things. Once again, I remember during my Hindustan liver days, actually it was Best Foods Livers. Our boss, who was a regional sales manager in Western region in Bombay, used to call us for these monthly meetings. So I used to be an ASM, area sales manager in Gujarat, and we had the ASM of Goa, the ASM of Bombay, and so on, all sitting in meetings together. And there I saw some of the most extroverted people, right, and some of the most talented, some of the people who had really good English and so on. They were some of the worst performers. Okay. But then I found one guy sitting in the corner, very quiet guy, old guy, didn't talk much, very unassuming, and he was the ASM for Goa. And later I found out that he was the best performer for not only that quarter or year, but for several years. So sometimes, looks can be very misleading. And especially there's a certain amount of, thinking about how salespeople are, extroverted, etc., which is not obviously true. So in Gesu, you find that people are unassuming and they're open to learning. They form good relations. They're good at networking, definitely, and obviously they're fearless. So because of all these things, it's no surprise that Gesuites have done so well around the world.
Absolutely, Vinu. And I think all three are bang on, and I can identify with all three of them. और मैंने मेरे ख्याल से जितने इंटरव्यूज अभी तक देखे हैं उसमें से काफी सारी चीजें कॉमन ही निकली हैं. You talked about your first job, and that was in Unilever, right? Was that immediately after engineering, or was it after MBA?
Yeah, see, after engineering, I worked for 1 year, then did an MBA, and then I got into Best Foods, which eventually got taken over by Unilever.
So how did you make? Sorry, Vinu. How did you make that switch? I wanted to get that connection from engineering to Unilever. How did that connection happen?
Yeah, see, I always wanted to go to Bombay because we went to give this entrance exam in Bombay for one of the MBA colleges. And I remember walking in Vile Parle along with my good friend, and it was a lovely day. There were lovely trees, flowers. It was all it was very nice and clean. Obviously, Mitibai Girls College being there obviously helped matters a little bit, Narsi Monji and so on. So when I came there, I just felt that this is the place I need to live. And I continued to, after my engineering, I did not have a job. So I just packed my bags and went to Mumbai and stayed with some friends and found a job, etc. But the dream of doing an MBA, was still alive. So I somehow cleared the MBA entrance exam. In fact, I did quite well. I got the 25th rank All India for the, for that CET, Common Entrance Test of Maharashtra colleges, and got into this, into this college. And again, good fun for 2 years, good learning. And then eventually, after that, got placed in Best Foods. And how this switch happened, because I think it was back in my engineering days itself, I'd more or less decided to make a career in sales. And that was quite a coincidence as well, because I think somewhere in the streets of Ujjain, I picked up a second-hand book, from one of those roadside stalls, and it was a book by Lee Iacocca, who was the CEO of Chrysler. And I was just amazed and transfixed by that book. When I read that book, I was just amazed, and somehow this whole concept of sales, sales as a career, that really struck me. And then one other statistic struck me, which is that 80% of CEOs are ex-salespeople. So then I thought it was a no-brainer to go into sales, because many people think of sales as something, where you have to beg people to give you business and so on. But there was this whole romanticization about the sales career, which came from that book. And right at that time, I decided to make a career in sales. So after my MBA, it was sort of easy to get into a consumer goods company in sales.
Right. No, I think Lee Iacocca and Akio Morita from Made in Japan and Jack Welch, I think, are some of the most inspiring leaders, especially for generation which was in those years. I think these were the role models for many of us. So wonderful. And how was that experience? Working in Best Foods, because that was one of the star companies really growing, and Unilever was big on that.
Yes. So first year was really a management training stint. So I, packed up my bags and went to UP, and my whole money was stolen. So that's a different story in itself. But once you're in Gesu, all these things are small little things, from which you move on. From them, I went to MP. Actually, a funny story. And one of my juniors, he saw me on the street somewhere, and with him I went to MA City in Bhopal. And so a lot of my time was spent there. And then eventually landed up a job as the executive assistant for the national sales manager in Mumbai. So I went to Mumbai, and then here is another example of the Gesu tenacity, okay, or the Gesu Jugaad. So after I finished my management training stint, I got a letter of confirmation saying that congratulations, Vinu Varghese, now you're going to be assistant manager marketing. And then I realized that two of my colleagues, who are the same batch as me, but from the IIT-IIM combination, they got a letter saying that, congratulations, you are manager marketing or manager operations. So they got manager and I got assistant manager. So, being from Gesu, there was no way that you could, take this Bejti, right? Because you consider yourself as the same as everyone else. So I went to the national sales manager who I knew, and I said that this is not fair. I mean, we are both recruited by you. You selected us. We might be from different colleges, whatever, but you selected us because we are the best. And now you cannot differentiate us. If you have both passed, then you should give us both the same grade. And the very next day, I got a letter saying, "Congratulations, Vinu, manager." So, so this is, I think, Gesu people, they've got that fearlessness, and they've got that jugaad, and they've got the ability to network, which is sometimes even more important than sheer effort. So, and after brand manager for some time, and then during again one of these networking sessions, a senior manager in the company said, "Why are you sitting in the comfortable offices, in AC offices, and talking to very interesting, beautiful people from advertising agencies and so on? This way, you will not make a great career, and you will not have a very solid foundation. So you need to rough it out in the field." I said, "Okay," and I was sent to Ahmedabad as an area sales manager. So it's very tough among the Gujaratis who are really strong with numbers, strong in negotiations, but it was like a good learning experience. And yeah, so that was my, and even there, initially I had a very tough time doing my targets. For many months I was not doing my targets, and always my boss Atane used to shout at me. But once it was March ending, which was like the year end, somehow I found that my boss was not shouting at me anymore. He was very calm. He actually said, "Vinu, why don't you take the train and come down to Mumbai, and let's sit together, have a cup of coffee, have a nice discussion." So I thought that, hey, this is not normal, right? This guy who is always shouting at me, why is so calm? I thought, kuch to gadbad hai. So then in that moment of desperation, and in your moments of desperation is when the best comes out of you. So I had about I think about 10 days left for the quarter to close. It was 20th of March or something. I got really desperate, and I used the Gesu Jugaad, calling up the biggest distributors, doing deals and so on, convincing them to take large consignments, even if they did not have demand. So especially the ones in Ahmedabad, in Surat, in Baroda, and in Rajkot. And with that, I did my numbers for the first time ever. And this is what happens. So once you do your numbers, once you achieve a difficult target, after that it becomes really easy. And then I was very happy that for the next 9 months consecutively, we used to call them journey cycles. Each month is a journey cycle. So for each journey cycle, every single month I overachieved my targets. So it's about really turning that switch where you understand how to do it, and then it becomes really easy. So that was a great time in Best Foods.
Fantastic. Now, I can tell you, I mean, all careers are great. A sales career gives you that high every month. I think that is really special working in sales, because you get an opportunity to, every month get that desperation, get that excitement of getting to the finish line. Very few carriers offer that. I'm sure there are other carriers, but in my experience, I can fully also identify with that, Vinu. How did that switch then from, engineer, MBA, salesperson, then to technology happen? How did you make the move to, a more high-tech world?
Again, this is a funny story, and it's true. It's absolutely true. I never wanted to go abroad, okay? But I think around the year 2000, my sister was getting married, and he was getting married to a software engineer in America. Obviously a Malayali guy, but he was based in America. And when I went to attend her marriage in Kerala, I went all the way from Ahmedabad. There, as usual in wedding functions, you know how they are like in India. Some of the aunties started circling me and said, "Beta kaha ho tum aajkal?" Right, in Malayalam. And I said, "Tum US mein ho?" I said, "No." "Acha, London mein ho?" "No." And then, Dubai and so on, right? So finally, Ahmedabad, which many of the people hadn't even heard of. So, it was, and this kind of culture is there a little bit in Kerala. I think it's there in Andhra Pradesh a lot. It's there in Punjab. It's there in Gujarat a lot. At least these four states are, have this culture a lot. And I somehow felt that, I need to go abroad, okay, for the first time in my life. And the easiest way to do that was to get into IT, because I knew that lots of my friends were getting into IT and going abroad. So I gave this entrance test of Infosys, which was all puzzles. Somehow cleared it. I don't know how that I cleared it, but got in there and did this training, and it was like setting my career back by many years. I was joking to my friends. I did not join as a functional consultant or in sales. I joined as a techie, because once again, when you're in your youth, when you're very young, you're very idealistic. You want to do things the proper way. And I want to build my foundation in technology and then go into management positions and so on, which is not really required. But at that time, I felt like that, and boy, it was really tough. I had to, it took me at least a couple of years to learn coding properly, right? It was very, very tough. And partly because, and this is a huge learning, partly because I was not used to learning. Okay, so, engineering, how, we just cruised along. MBA was similar, and to go and learn new things, you have that confidence, that attitude to learn. And that is why, my advice to all the young people listening to this is please don't forget your most basic thing, which is to learn what you're supposed to learn. Okay, you can do all the masti after that, but not before that. And even if you're on your job, do what you're supposed to do first, and then do your extracurricular. And it does not take too much effort, or as long as you're a little bit curious, and now you have all the tools available to you, with Google and all that, or all the online courses and so on. So it's always easy to learn if you want to, but keep that attitude of learning. So it was tough to learn, but eventually after 2 years of struggle, I somehow got an MVP award. It's called the most valued player for coding in Infosys. So it was a long journey from the engineering days where I कुछ 5 program रट के गए थे एग्जाम में Fortran के, और वहाँ से to actually learn coding and deliver something. It was a long journey, but well worth the effort. But more importantly, it gave me that confidence to learn new things.
And you said the ambition was actually which triggered this switch was that you wanted to go abroad, but you started in Bangalore, right? And then you moved to Europe. Now for a number of years you're in Europe. How did that happen? Was that part of the ambition achieving that you moved to Europe, or was it something else which triggered that move to Europe?
Yeah, so here again, just like Sisodia sir said in his session, it was a bit of an accident, but there are lots of such accidents in the IT industry. I think almost everybody gets a chance to go abroad. So after about 2.5 years in Bangalore, I got this opportunity to go to Germany for 1 month. So that 1 month became 3 months, and then now it's become 18 years. So it kept getting extended. So I remember that landing in Germany at that time was a pretty tough thing. Everything is quite new. Obviously, it's quite beautiful because it was a lovely autumn day, like now, sunny, and all the leaves are yellow and orange and all of that, and it's a bit cold. You have Ooty kind of feeling, but very beautiful, and it was lovely, and a lot of struggles in the beginning. So actually, I really feel for many of the students who go abroad to study, because at least I was getting a salary, and these students don't even have an earning, and they struggle even more. But I see that even in my town, I live in a town called Lausanne near Geneva. So there is a very large university called EPFL, École Polytechnique Fédérale Lausanne, and you won't believe it. They've got a budget of $1 billion. Okay, that's their annual budget. Which is probably 10 to 20 times as much as some of the IITs of India. So, and they do really cutting edge research. And I see a lot of students from India coming from very, very many different backgrounds. And the best part about Europe is most of these post graduations and postdocs, they're all free, unlike the US where you have to spend a lot of money. And it's also a misconception that the courses are in German or French or the local language. It's not. There are always courses in English. So this could be a good career option for many of the students of GESU. I think they should look at universities in Europe, and many of them are really, really good universities. It's not as much explored at Australia or UK or the US, because somehow people think there's no English in these countries, but it's full of English, and it's free, and it's very, very high quality education, and this is a really good opportunity. But anyway, coming back, coming to Europe, I obviously started by thinking I should go to the US. But to be fair, I've only visited the US. I've never worked there. I got stuck in Europe, and I was in these three different countries. Started in Germany, 7 years, and then now in Switzerland, and it continues.
Amazing. Fantastic. And when you moved to Europe, and I'll come back to the European university question in the second part of our discussion, because I think that's a wonderful insight and might be very useful for many students. But coming back, you started in programming, but now you're running a P&L. So when you went to Europe, did you go also in sales, or did you go in on the tech side? And how was that journey?
Yeah, I mean, somehow I underestimated or probably overestimated myself when I made the switch into IT, because I had this grand plan that I'll go into IT, and I have enough jugaad and enough network to really quickly, after learning stuff, just quickly get into management. It was not that easy because people have been sitting here for many years, and they know the industry well, they have a network. So I had to spend about 5 years before actually getting into sales. So I came to Europe and started with business analyst roles, project management. And then in 2005, in one of, again, it was a chance encounter. A very senior person of Infosys was, saw me in a particular client presentation, and he gave me an offer. He said, "Do you want to come to London to do a sales role?" And that's how I landed up in London. And once it came there, again, it was a different kind of learning. Sales actually is two parts. Either there's hunting, which is trying to get new customers, or it's farming, which is growing your existing customers. So I came in hunting first. It was not easy at all. So there's a lot of learning there. And eventually I moved to farming. Then I do a blended role. So, when it comes to career, once again, I remember one of my train journeys in Germany. There was an old man sitting next to me on the train, and he and I started talking. So he said, "Are you from Bangalore?" And I said, "Yeah, sort of." And he said, "I used to go to Bangalore a lot, and in my last year before retiring, I used to be the second in command of this large company. It's a huge company in Germany." So I was very curious. I said, "How did you rise to the top?" And he had said that he actually started as an office boy, like a peon or a chaiwala, for example, right? In the office. So from there, he became like a vice chairman of the company. So I said, "How did you do that?" So he thought about it for a moment, and he said that you just keep your eyes open and ears to the ground. And that's all he said. Okay, so I didn't quite understand that, but now after several years later, I sort of understand what he's saying. I think you need to be, you need to just react. You cannot prepare too much. Again, I remember another story from my Best Foods days. Our head of marketing once called up all the management trainees, and he asked this question: that where do you see yourself 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line? The typical MBA corporate kind of question. So many of them said, I'll become the CEO, I'll become head of marketing, and so on. But when it was my turn, I gave him a much more precise answer, well thought out, I thought. So I said that, look, I'll go become an area sales manager, 5 years later, a regional sales manager. Within 10 years, I'll become a national sales manager, then with general management position. And then within 15 years, I'll become a CEO of a mid-sized consumer goods company. So he looked at me and smiled. He said, "Beta, it doesn't happen like that." It doesn't work like that. And that's true. And you cannot plan out things like that. You've got to be very open. Things change a lot. Your desires change. The opportunity, your company that you're working for might not want you anymore. So the career is always like, it's like the stock market. Overall, the trend is up, but there are a lot of ups and downs. So it goes up, comes down a little bit, goes up, comes down a bit. But overall, if you look over several years, as long as you're doing the basics, you should have a good career. So do not be afraid to take new chances, different kind of roles, go down in your career, go parallel. It's just like the stock market. As long as you've got a long-term vision and you have the openness to pick up new challenges, you should be doing all right.
Wonderful.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, absolutely. Really, really good insights, and will. I think the way you mentioned that stock market analogy is just fantastic, and I think that's very aptly you said that. Tell us more about your current role. I know you are heading Europe for Wipro. You have some big clients that I know of, but maybe you tell us more about what you do and what exactly you do for your customers.
Yes. So look, Wipro, and let me say one or two lines about Wipro. It's a very special company. It's unlike many other companies because 70% of Wipro is owned by a charity. Okay, Azim Premji, who's the honorary chairman of Wipro, started this foundation called the AHP Foundation, which owns 70% of Wipro. That means that every quarter, 70% of our profits go to this charity. And they work with 300,000 schools in very remote parts of India, helping children get education, children who would otherwise not have gotten education. Okay, and why he believes in education is because he thinks it's a big multiplier. Once a child is educated, the whole family progresses, the whole village progresses, the entire society benefits. So it's very special in that way, and it's always good to know that you're working for a company, whose profits don't help, the top bosses, buy the next yacht or private jet, but actually goes to help back society, right? And I think many Indian companies are similar. Many companies like ours, Infosys, all of these are very charitable in their approach to life. Now, my role here is to manage the consumer business unit for Continental Europe. So what that means is we have these different verticals. So there's retail, consumer packaged goods, there's travel transportation, and there's media sector like Google, Facebook, and so on. So all these four sectors I manage for Continental Europe, which means there's a Nordics region, which has countries like Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Finland. There's the Benelux, which is Belgium, Netherlands. There is a DACH region, which is Germany and Austria, Switzerland. And there's a France region. We don't focus much on Iberia, which is Spain, Portugal, and Italy. But those are the countries that we do some business in Eastern Europe as well, in Romania, Poland kind of countries. So for all these countries, we are primarily responsible. I'm responsible for the business growth. And a P&L basically means four matrices. First, it's revenue and revenue growth. Second, profitability, particularly operating margins. Third is the customer satisfaction. And there are CSAT scores for that, and employee satisfaction. So those are the primary KPIs that I measure on.
Fantastic. That is an amazing role. I think it's a prime role. And in Wipro or any other technology company, Europe is one of the bigger markets. Obviously, US is big, but Europe probably brings much more complexity when you deal with this. So can you tell us more about some of the achievements that you've had, the most satisfying achievements that you've had over last years in your career?
I mean, the thing that gives me a really big high, like you said, is winning a deal. Obviously protecting our business is important, is very important, because it's 6 times as much difficult to get a new business, as it is to protect your business. So that is the number one priority. But getting a new deal, that's amazing feeling. And over time, I remember my first deal, and after listening from the customer that, hey, we have selected you, I almost had jelly knees. Okay, I couldn't even stand properly. It was that amazing, that feeling. And I still have the same feeling every time I win a deal. Only the deals have gotten bigger and bigger. Now they're in terms of rupee terms, they're 1,000 crores plus. Sometimes even 10,000 crores and so on. So, and there's a whole ecosystem to support you. But you're leading that deal. It takes a year. Sometimes it's very disappointing because after spending a year on a deal, you lose it, right? It's very binary in that sense. But then again, the Gesu spirit should come in, and you just pick up from where you left off. Forget what happened. I'm not saying don't learn from it, but don't dwell on it. Quickly move on to the next one, right? And I think very important to have that mental certitude and being tough. But in one word, what is my specialty? When I reflect, first of all, it's information technology, IT. Secondly, it's about Europe. I mean, how to do business in Europe. And thirdly, it's about large deals. These three things are what sum up my, what really drives me.
Fantastic. Very good. Before I move on to the next thing on my list, which was more about you personally. Let me just take a couple of minutes to summarize what I took as notes, and I'm sure many people would have done the same. I saw learning. You put a lot of emphasis on, lifelong learning, because, and you also highlighted that in Gesu spirit, I think that was the key, right? You learn something every day, and you have to be able to learn at the last minute. And I think we all specialize in that. I think not giving up and taking disappointments in your stride, I think was a great takeaway you mentioned. Saying yes to new things and saying yes to opportunities, even though there are things which may not go as per plan. I think that's fantastic. Having a vision or ambition, but not necessarily getting stuck with that, I think was a wonderful insight. And I love that insight that you got from the gentleman you sat next to in that train when he said, keep your eyes open and ears to the ground. I think that's a really good mantra to live by. And I can tell you, it's a key to success, right? Especially when you are working in a big company or you're working in an environment which is complex as you are, and many of us want to do. How is it living in Europe now? So after so many years, tell us more about the family. Tell us more about what you do with your free time.
My family, my wife is a software consultant. She's an e-commerce consultant. She's also an engineer like me. She did a master's from Germany. Again, that was the only course in English. She did that, and it was free, right? She did not pay even €1 in fees. And I've got two children, two boys who are 13 and 8, and they speak French because that's the local language here. But they also speak English and Malayalam and so on. But we watch a lot of Hindi movies. Most of my time on the weekends is spent playing driver, because I need to drive them around to piano lessons and football coaching and so on. But also once in a while we get to sing with friends, and we play football. But nowadays that's reduced. It's more of cricket these days. And I said there are a lot of Indians in this place, and also Australians and British people. So we get together every Sunday to play cricket. But now it's autumn, so it's stopped. The next season starts in March, April. So pretty boring life, unlike what most of us in India have, which is full of excitement.
Fantastic. So as I've mentioned right at the beginning of the session, let's take last 10-15 minutes to also talk about digital. You are working in a sector which is changing every day, but not changing itself. It's also changing the world. It's changing the way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with people. I mean, this is a prime example of how we are interacting today with the people from with and in front of people from around the world. So I think that's amazing. What do you see as one? And the two parts of my question. What do you see one as the trends in digital, which would be the mega trends, and the second part is how our current students, the ones who are already in college as well as maybe just fresh out of school, how can they take advantage of these mega trends?
Yeah, see, first of all, there are various definitions of digital. So for the sake of simplicity, let's take the NASSCOM's definition. So NASSCOM is the National Association for Software Companies. What they have defined digital effectively is it has got omni-channel commerce, it's got artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's got IoT and blockchain, okay, Internet of Things, it's got cloud computing, it's got cyber security, and probably also a few more things. So if you take each one of these, and I think it's not only the IT sector like ours which is being disrupted, every sector is being disrupted. Take, for example, a consumer goods, a tobacco company. Okay, if you look at it, for hundreds of years, people are smoking tobacco, but they have started thinking of themselves as software companies. Can you believe that? So, for example, first of all they're moving to alternate products because people are smoking lesser and lesser, and that product, actually looks quite cool. It's got a chip in it, which the user of that product can know how many puffs they have taken, for example. There's a community around it. They can chat with other users, and it also sends the consumables. You can order consumables online or through your app, or it becomes intelligent and it actually sends you the goods even before your stock has expired. So, such a boring industry becoming such a digital industry, right? This is the transformation in every single industry. So if you take travel, for example, earlier lots of us who are in different jobs know how difficult it is to raise a travel request and then to claim for the expenses and so on. But now all of that is actually done online and at real time. So for example, when I raise my travel request on my app, I can choose the flights I want, and I don't have to fill up lots of paper and attach all the bills and so on. I can actually take a photograph of the bill and submit it online, and and get paid online as well, right? So that is how our industry is getting disrupted. So we've got a good friend, by the way, from my batch, Sharad, who works as a chief engineer in Facebook on the advertising side. So why I remembered this is if you look at the advertising industry, that has been significantly disrupted by digital. So I think there are about $500 billion of spend, of advertising spend that you do in newspapers and magazines, in television. But what we have probably not completely realized is that very quickly, since the launch of the iPhone and the use of mobile over the last 10 years, that market share of online advertising grew to more than 50%. So 250 billion is the online advertising spend. I think it's even more now. This was the figure of last year. And out of that 250 billion, 60% is just by two companies, Google and Facebook. And that's why you see Google very quickly became a 150 billion company. Facebook, it was 7 billion, 20, 40, 60. Every day, it just grows rapidly. So any industry which is digital, which is cloud native, which is digital native, is seeing significant growth in their market cap as well. I mean, and what has happened, if you listen to Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, he said that due to the pandemic, the digital disruption has actually accelerated 10 times. So what would actually have taken 10 years to achieve, we've achieved in 1 year. Take, for example, this call. We are having it on Zoom. And Zoom as a company is just a video conferencing company, and its market cap is $150 billion. That is more than the market cap of 5 large airlines. Okay. And why this is important, especially also if you're an investor, is airline industry bosses, if you listen to them, they say that it's going to take 10 years for us to get back to the same business travel levels as before. And they used to make most of their money from business travels. So they said that they are now going to focus more on leisure travel. So that is why Zoom is worth more than the top 5 airlines of the world. You take any industry. If you take Uber, what does it do? You convert your taxi, or you change, your car becomes your taxi, and you make money out of it. Airbnb, your house becomes a hotel. So it's the sharing economy. It's as a service, so you don't have to put a lot of capex, etc. And you rent. And this renting is actually where cloud computing comes in, which I said is one of the fundamental pillars of digital. So in cloud computing, and I think here there is companies like AWS, Amazon. In China, there's Alibaba, there's Azure of Microsoft, there's Google Cloud, and so on. If you observe their growth, they are sometimes doubling or at least having 50% year-on-year growth. Our industry, the IT services industry of India, used to be like that 15, 20 years earlier, right? It grew about 30% every year in the 90s, noughties, which is 2000 to 2010. From 2010 onwards, its growth has reduced. And then now the next level of growth is being driven by digital. So my point is, your second part of your question was how can the youngsters and students benefit from this? I think they should, first of all, select industries which are sunrise industries of the future, so that you can ride the growth. It's like sitting on top of a wave. You go along with the wave. And if you want to learn Google, and all of you being engineers, it's relatively easy. You already have that technical bent of mind. Don't worry if you're doing masti, that's part of life. But even learning these things is not that difficult anymore, because the information is all available out there. If you look at sites like Khan Academy or Udacity or Udemy and so on, you just pay $10 or $20 to do one entire course on Google Cloud Computing, for example. Earlier, I think 20 years back, if you wanted to switch to IT, you had to go to a course and spend 1 lakh rupees to do that SAP course. But today, $20 and you can do it. Most of it is freely available on YouTube, and anybody can make a career anywhere. And I think the field has really been leveled. Somebody sitting in Ujjain or Indore or a small town in Kerala can actually start a big business. And he or she is at the same level as somebody sitting in the United States or Europe. Because if he wants to start a company, I mean, all he has to do is take a cloud platform, pay the monthly subscription, and get your product online. And talking about the tech products, and this is a fascinating thing about products. Many of you might be marketing people, and you would have read about the 4 P's of marketing. There's a product, place, promotion, and price. But can you think of an industry where the product cost is zero, okay, the price is zero, and you can launch the product immediately? There is promotion. There's no need to promote anything, right? No buy one get one free, nothing, or no need to advertise, okay? And also, place or the distribution network is right there. Can you think of such a product? It is all the tech products, all the products that we have today. For example, we use Google Maps. We don't pay anything. Earlier, you would buy a map. We use Gmail or whatever all the time. We don't pay for it. When was the last time you paid for a newspaper? Right? We consume all that for free. So with digital, what you see is that the price of things going down. It's all very instantaneous. You get feedback and improve instantaneously, and you find that you can build huge businesses very quickly. For example, what is stopping one of the techies from our college right now to set up his own business? And when you talk about innovation, it's not about that you've got to create something very path-breaking which somebody has never done. It's like going to Mars or something. It's not like that. Even if you look at some of the most innovative companies in the world, and listen to this, listen to me for the next 30 seconds. Microsoft, which is a 150 billion company, $1 trillion in market cap. People think of it as a very innovative company. And I take Microsoft just like I take any example. But actually, many of their products are actually similar to many other products. For example, their Teams, which is a breakthrough product, is exactly like Slack. Okay, some of the ideas are very similar to Slack. So except for the initial operating system, for example, most of the products are either acquisitions or something which they have adopted really well. So innovation doesn't have to be breakthrough. It can be incremental innovation. And I think the playing field is leveled. The entry barriers are low. So anybody can make a great business or a startup from anywhere.
Fantastic. Vinu, wonderful. Just one thing I wanted to say, and then I'll ask another question. Sometimes when I hear that, we don't pay for many of these services. So I was reading somewhere that when you're not paying for a product, then usually you are the product, right? But that aside, you talked about many things which are changing in digital, right? You talked about Industry 4.0, disintermediation की बात कही आपने, जैसे then product as a service, cloud. अगर ये चारों पांचों सेक्टर जो इंटरेस्टिंग है, if you have to stack rank them, तो पहला सेक्टर सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग कौन सा होगा, दूसरा कौन सा होगा? So just again for the interest of our students as well as fresh out of school, which would be the sunrise sectors according to you? And doesn't have to be a very precise stack ranking, but पहला, दूसरा, तीसरा, चौथा कौन सा future में अगले 5 से 10 साल में, as much as you can predict, would be the sector for future?
It's anybody's guess, but all of these sectors, as long as you're very close to digital, you've got a great future. So take, for example, cloud computing. As I said, it's absolutely possible for many of you students and youngsters to get into Google and Amazon kind of companies. Because, just take the example of Google. They have recruited 4,000 sales guys in the last 1 year alone. Okay, there's tremendous demand. And today, the entire IT spend of the world is around 3.5 trillion. But out of that, 1 trillion is in data center spend. And cloud computing is not even 100 billion yet. There's 90% more to go. There's tremendous growth. And as I said, you can pick up these technologies very quickly online and apply to them and be architects or developers or techies or even in sales. It's relatively easy to get into these companies because they're on a growth track. They need people. Only thing you need to be good at what we are, you need to good at what you are studying. Second, cybersecurity is very hot, and that's because all of us are working from home and remotely and so on. And the number of things that are connected to the internet is just exploding. So it opens up a lot of room for hackers and others to come in. And AI based, artificial intelligence based cybersecurity is really, really hot. And many of these languages, etc., for people who are in college, to learn is so easy these days. I was a mainframe developer once. We had to write every single line of code. But now it's, you can just import libraries and it's all there. R programming. You can go to YouTube, spend half a day, and you can literally learn a lot of that language yourself. You can install the installable, look at Google YouTube video how to do it, just follow it because all the libraries are there. And by the way, if you're good at maths, you should be as engineers. If you're good in maths and you can actually write nice algorithms, which is what machine learning is all about. And once you have that combination of writing algorithms plus being a techie, which is writing programs, plus a little bit of business sense, that ye dhanda chalta kaisa hai. If you have all these three, then you can amazing data scientist where the salaries are super very high, right? So I talked about cloud computing, I talked about cybersecurity, I talked about analytics, which is big data analytics and all the machine learning around it. Omni-channel and user experience is great. And I think I would all recommend you to go and watch the 2007 launch of iPhone by Steve Jobs. He really simplified communication and he really made it so interesting in terms of the iPhone and the user experience. But there are a lot more, but I think there's a time constraint.
Fantastic. And what would be one last question, and then I will actually go into a special section before we get into some Q&A from the audience. What would be the top 3 courses, would you recommend available on open platforms? As you mentioned, there are so many open platforms out there today. But again, for our current students or fresh out of school, which if you were to recommend, hey, these are 3 which are easily available and also very important to get into any of these segments, which would be the 3 that you would recommend?
See, it depends on the interest of the people. They should self-introspect and see, what really excites them. Because I think if you're doing something that you like, then you don't have to work for a single day of your life, right? Your work becomes play. So let us say you like finance. It doesn't matter if you're an engineer. If you like finance, go and learn how to read balance sheets and P&L statements. And if you don't know it very well, you can go to Udemy and pick up that course for $10 or $15 and just do that. Okay. If you like technology, then I would strongly advise you to learn Python as a language or R programming for analytics. It's easy to learn and it's very quick and it's used everywhere. If you like marketing, there's enough and more courses. The whole MBAs are available online, and so it really depends on your interest. Spend some time learning it, and a lot of opportunities will open up.
Fantastic, very good. So let me see if we have some questions on the chat already. Would urge people to post some questions on the chat, or Sanjay, maybe we can even open up for the audience to ask some questions. But एक चीज मुझको पूछनी थी वीनू, मुझको कुछ लोगों ने बताया कि you have a favorite drink from उज्जैन. उज्जैन का कोई बड़ा खास ड्रिंक है जो पहली बार you had in उज्जैन only, और वो बड़ा क्या बोलते हैं, जोर का झटका धीरे से लगने, जोर से ही लगा वो जोर का झटका. क्या
ये देखो कुछ मतलब you should carry it to your grave. Okay, but I know what Abhay is talking about. I think all of us were there. We had a big gang, Samit, Deven Jain, etc. So we were we tried this ganne ka ras, and like you saw it going from one side to the other and निचोड़ रहा है public, अपना jokes भी मार रहा है कि corporate life में भी company ऐसे ही निचोड़ती होगी हमें. But in between that, I tasted ganne ka ras for the first time. And it was so good that I had 3 or 4 glasses of that. And you know what happens if you if you have that kind of thing from the roadside. So that's become a little bit of a joke. And I ended up in the hospital because at the same time I got malaria. Well, I don't think it was ganne ka ras after all. Maybe it was just a mosquito.
Okay, so let's open Are there any questions from the audience before we hang up? Actually, we are going to still ask. We need to sing a few lines of Patthar Ke Sanam for us, or maybe any other song of his choice. But are there any questions? Sanjay, can you unmute everyone? Can you unmute the audience?
I've already done that. Anybody can ask the question.
You need to, even though Sanjay is unmuted, I think you need to unmute yourselves because center unmute नहीं होता है. Puneet sir there? I can see him. Yeah, Prasoon has a question. So,
Prasoon, go ahead. You can ask it.
यार वो unmute नहीं हुआ लग रहा है कोई.
Hello.
But anyway, I'll have a question in the mean. Sanjay, you can try.
Hello. So can you hear me?
It says somewhere in the conversation. Yes, Prasoon, go ahead.
Hello, sir. How are you, sir?
Hi. Hello, Prasoon.
It was a very good session. I was just listening a long time. I was connected to the session, and it was a very fruitful and very informative I had. So, sir, thank you so much for coming on the platform. And sorry, I didn't tell you I am from Del Batch, and currently I am working with the Delhi Legislative Assembly as a public policy analyst. Hello.
Yeah, Prasoon, go ahead.
Sir, I was just in a conversation. I heard that you work for the company which is working on an education sector. So they are investing money in the education sector. So I just wanted to know how like still you are into that thing, and are they expanding those things into a development sector, and what are the opportunities for an engineering student go into that?
Yeah. Prasoon for the question. Harjit, can you go on mute for just 1 minute? Yeah. So look, Prasoon, there are two parts to this. First is the charity that Wipro Foundation runs. That's very different.
Yeah.
And I think they have a different purpose and so on, right? But
Okay.
within our existing IT business itself, there is an education sector where we provide services to a lot of universities around the world, and also build solutions for them and so on. So if you could just ping me later, we could connect offline and then I'll give you more details. Prasoon.
Yes, that would be good, sir. That would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Or Val. Okay.
Hello.
कोई गाने. Hello.
Hello, Vinu Varghese, Channa side, 90s.
Hello, Channa, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Hi.
I think that 2-3 people are talking at the same time, but now I think everyone is gone on mute. Who?
Pradeep Channa this side, Vinu sir.
Hey, good to hear.
Yeah, fine. I'm also in Europe. And nice weather.
Good. I'll call you after this. Let's have a more detailed chat.
No, yeah.
Pradeep, you have a question?
I wanted to need guidance for my children.
Okay.
You had said given this online opportunities, they are very good. My daughter is also online. She's also listened to this. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for that, Pradeep. Obviously,
Yes.
they've got the world in front of them.
Yes.
I'm sure they'll have amazing careers and very happy lives ahead.
Thank
I'll
you.
after this and understand a little bit more and help in any way I can in terms of giving advice. So thanks for that, Pradeep.
Always. You have been very helpful to us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Fantastic. Okay. So knowing that we are out of time, I think we have one more question. Please, sir. Puneet sir, please go ahead.
Hi, Vinu.
Hello, sir.
No, I am just wondering and a little bit curious because you spoke about Unilever and those beautiful advertising guys. You might be talking about girls, I guess, but beautiful people you spoke about, and I was one of. I don't know whether we ever passed crossed each other. I'm just wondering which brand you were working with.
I was working on these best food brands, which are Nor Soups, Brown and
Okay.
Paulson, Rex.
Okay. Because I was working extensively on Hammam, and I was almost half Mallu because I was working on Hammam. So, great. I just wanted to know. So good. So you worked on North. Thank you.
Very good. So let's give the stage to Vinu now to have the last word. So if you can, Sanjay, mute everyone so we can have a couple of lines of Patthar Ke Sanam, Vinu, if that is still okay with you and you still remember the lines. And then with that, we will bring it to a close.
Yes,
and
sure.
Harjeet is already giving thumbs up. And मेरे ख्याल से वो ताली वाली बजाने के लिए भी
डिजिटल
तैयार
वर्ल्ड
है
में सर डिजिटल वर्ल्ड में ही कैन फाइंड द लिरिक्स ऑन गूगल राइट नाउ
लोगों के पास में सारे जवाब हैं लोगों को ऐसे आंसर करते हैं
अरे अब तो डुइच में भी गाना सुना देगा यार
so Vinu, over to you. Go ahead.
I don't know if I remember all the lyrics, but I'll try. And yeah, so I hope it works out fine.
Sure.
Let's go with Patthar Ke Sanam. Shall I do a ghazal or Patthar Ke Sanam? Which one?
नहीं पत्थर के सनम गजल जैसे ही लगता है
कुछ भी सुना दे यार
गजल ही है पत्थर के सनम संजय म्यूट कर दे सबको केवल विनु को छोड़ के
ठीक है I think given that my Hindi is so poor and Urdu maybe I'll do the ghazal only with a share in front so don't ask me what that means but anyway I'll sing that for you अपनी आवाज की लर्जिश पे तो काबू पालो प्यार के बोल तो होठों से निकल जाते हैं अपने तेवर को संभालो कि कोई ये न कहे दिल बदलते हैं तो चेहरे भी बदल जाते हैं चुपके चुपके रात दिन आंसू बहाना याद है अब मैं समझा तेरे रुखसार पे दिल का मतलब दौलत हुस्न पे दरबान बिठा रखा है दरसिया वक्त ही होना था नसीबों मेरे जुल्फ होता तेरे रुखसार पे क्या दिल होता चुपके चुपके रात दिन आंसू बहाना याद है हमको अब तक आशिकी का वो जमाना याद है चुपके चुपके रात दिन आंसू बहाना याद है
Fantastic, very good, Vinu. Wonderful. Again, Gesu में सारे all-rounder होते हैं, but I think you are really champion of champions for us. You've done well in your career. You are doing well in life, and I think most of all, you are still connected with all the friends. वो सबसे बड़ी पूंजी वही है. So wish you all the best. Wish you all the best in your career, all the best in life. And I really enjoyed our conversation today. I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone else joining today did as well. Keep that passion on, keep that tenacity going, and keep inspiring people around you. Very, very, very
Thank you very much.